What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome back to another episode of Tuffy Talk here, and we've got myself and Greg the Leg Haas here. And today we are on an episode. We're going to be talking through some underreaction and overreaction items that we've been thinking about, from NC State related stuff, and some are more bigger picture than just NC State. We've been coming up some ideas on this. So how this is going to work is I'm going to fire off to Greg some of these items, and he can kind of give his, think it's an underreaction or overreaction, and I'll fire back to myself. But Greg, here's my first item for you, man. So a lot of it gets made out about, fit from like a coach standpoint or like how they come into program. So my statement here is a coach's style or personality does not matter or does matter to a program. What do you think? How much does a coach's style personality matter to a program? Is it overreaction or not?
Yeah, I think for this one, if you're talking professional sports, like, the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, I don't think it matters at all, right? I think it's completely different. But in college, I feel you kind of want your coach to kind of take on your persona, your personality as a fan base. And I think that's something that Coach Doran does really well, that he embraces. I mean, if you remember, his I don't know if it was his introductory press conference or maybe the first Carolina game, he was talking about being a blue nose, blue collar, hands in the dirt kind of school. And so, do you remember was that during his speech?
Dave Doran? Dave said that when he won his first game at UNC.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Yeah. And so I think from that angle, I think it is. Is it an overreaction or underreaction?
So the statement being coach style and personality does not matter.
Yeah, I would say that's an underreaction slightly.
I agree. I think it's an underreaction because could you imagine? I know it's polar opposites where they're rivals. Could you imagine a Larry Fedora or a Mac Brown at NC State? It just wouldn't go over well at all. And
Well, here's the thing. Let me throw this question at you real quick. Do you think that necessarily a coach, when they come in, has that persona, or that sometimes they develop it over the course of their career?
I think it's who they are as a person, right? And I think the answer is they have it before they come here. Now, I think they can maybe build on that as they come over. Like you're right, Dave Doran grew to, hate UNC as much as anybody, right? And to your point, he had that quote there. But it becomes a thing where the people, the fans start to embrace the coach, and the coach embraces the fans. It's not just I'm here for a year or two kind of thing. You guys are my kind of people. And so I think it's an underreaction for that statement. I think coach personality style does matter to some degree, right?
It's still a results-oriented business.
Right. I mean, seeing a guy like Manny Diaz, I couldn't see him at a ton of these SEC schools that are like you're the Ole Misses and the Tennessee. It just, to me, doesn't really fit. There's some things like that. I know I'm picking on him because I think he kind of comes across like a more slick kind of guy. But like Nick Saban, I know he's been there for years, but he just seems to fit that. I think Kirby Smart kind of has that vibe there at Georgia. I think.
Dabo
has that vibe at Clemson. Dave Doran, I think, embodies NC State. I think it's going to be hard to get away from that if you want to be such a program. And it is somewhat of an identity thing too, as a national perception. I think having a coach that reflects the program really well, it matters. So,
agreed.
Let's move on to the next one. So again, that was, we leaned more heavy on the football side of that, but that could be really anything. So, and I will say maybe it matters more in football than it does other sports.
I think so, because it's to me, it's I don't know how to really say this the right way, but it's kind of a cultural thing where football just kind of is that sport where it has an attitude that other sports don't, if that makes sense. Kind of a macho masculinity type thing.
I agree.
It has a country feel. It has a country feel, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I agree with
It
that.
doesn't feel corporate.
Yeah, because you have, Roy Williams and Hubert Davis and all that with UNC. You've got all the NC State's coaches, Mark Goffrey, Kevin Keats. Before that, you had Herb Sendek and Sidney Lowe.
Yeah.
Those are all different kinds of personalities, right? So I feel like in the basketball world, you have some guys who are more like businessmen. And in the football world, it's more selective, I would say. I don't know how to put that.
Yeah, I mean, basketball feels a little more glitzy and glamorous.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely different.
For the question, I think the coach style personality does not matter. I think that's an underreaction. I think it does matter. All right, so we're going to move on to this next one. So this is getting more specific here. Okay, so NC State basketball, for men's basketball, here's the statement. The ACC title run and the Final Four run that NC State had last season with Kevin Keats has bought him 3 more seasons.
And before we get going back into this amazing interview, we want to take a quick second and tell you about Flightlands Jessup Insurance Group that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 different offices throughout Eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need, offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flightlands Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time worrying and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flightlands Jessup. You can also visit their website at www.flightlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out.
What do you think?
Under reaction, I think. Or can we have just a right reaction? Is that a thing, or I have to go over or under?
This is our show. We can do what we want.
Okay. Well, I think that is the right reaction. I think 3 years is a good number, even though it's an odd number, but it's the right number for this, because basketball, and we've talked about this ad nauseum on the channel, the basketball is where you can change the fortunes because it's such a small roster. You can change the fortunes in the matter of a year. And you look at the team that Keats took to the Final Four last year, they were all cast-offs from other schools. Like it wasn't, a homegrown program where, it was a team that had a lot of upperclassmen, but not a lot of homegrown talent, if you will. So I think 3 years is the right number for him. I think that, before, 3 years ago, we were talking about him being on the hot seat and potentially out the door.
Last season, we were talking about him being on the hot seat.
Yeah, right. But it kind of started,
I'm just saying it's been very recent too. So
yeah. Now we've had back-to-back years where we've made the tournament, made the run last year, broke the streak of 35 years, 34 years, whatever.
Actually.
30, maybe. Yeah. I didn't even want to go that far, but you're right.
1987.
It was 87. I was thinking 89 for some stupid reason, but yes, 87 was the right. So all of that being said, you would be ignorant not to give him at least 3 years.
Yeah. So my take on it, and as I think about it, I'm tending to agree with you. My initial reaction was overreaction, because I think it's telling, right? I think it's a lessons learned for State and the fans in general for NC State. We haven't tasted this in a while. People forget how bad the season was. The regular season was, in my opinion, it was not good, and we don't even seem to remember that because of what happened in March. Right? It tells you how important you win championships. People forget, and so I think that is a true statement. I think to be able to say you've won an AC championship and you made a Final Four. I think if I had to pick one side or the other now that I think about it, I think it's an underreaction, because not many coaches can say they've done that in the ACC or the country. However, I do think it depends. Let's say Kevin Keats has an atrocious next 2 seasons. Yeah. Right?
What's atrocious? Sub 500 in the ACC, don't make the tournament type thing?
Yeah, because he barely made – he wouldn't have made it if he had won the ACC tournament, right? So I kind of feel like that's what – like we're viewing it like this guy is going to be, get 3 more years, but he wasn't going to make the NCAA tournament. So
yep,
that's kind of the norm for Keats, right? So are we going to just, I don't want to commit to somebody for 3 years who is.
Yeah. Well, you committed to him because of all his clauses in his contract.
Well, I mean, I thought the same thing too. Too bad his contract said he's getting all that time. Yeah. But you get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I want to give it to a guy who's earned it, and he's earned it to some degree, right?
I mean, he's earned it. I mean, he it doesn't say ACC tournament champion. It says ACC champion. Like, he is the ACC champion. Yeah. He took a team to the Final Four for the first time in 40 years. It doesn't matter how you got there, that the fact that you got there. And I think that is if people have an argument about the ACC tournament and the Final Four, it doesn't necessarily mean you're the best 4 teams in the country, right? You were really good for a month.
Right.
But again, we always talk about
really good for a month.
Yeah, but we always talk about you want to be playing your best ball.
Right.
If you're football, you want to be you talking November, December, and if you're a basketball team, you're talking March, April. So he did what you want him to do. So how can you penalize him for the other 90% of the season?
Yeah,
even though that does sound weird, right? When I say 90% of the season.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like Tom Izzo at Michigan State, right? He's had some seasons at Michigan State where he had some seasons there were not really good, but he was just kind of known as being the guy, come March, he will get his team ready to go, turn it on. And, you don't really remember the regular season stuff at times, and they had ups and down seasons. I just remember that. Tom Izzo, March time, I remember they would be like, an 8, 9, 10, 11 seed some seasons, and they would make a nice little run.
Make a run. Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
So here, let me ask you this. Let me throw it back at you. And you probably know this because you're one of the guys that I know follows NC State basketball very well. What was State's record last year?
I want to say they had around 20 wins or so. I can't remember exactly.
But that's the point, right? So you're kind of making the point that I want you to make is no one knows the record. Most people don't know the record. They know that you got banners, right? You got the ACC banner, you got the Final Four banner. At the end of the day, and you got the ring with the 5 ice cream cones on it. At the end of the day, that's all people want. They don't care. They don't care about the journey. They care about the result.
Yeah, NC State. Oh, I was wrong actually, but they were sub 500 ACC. They were.
Yes.
Now, shoot, that might be. I don't know if that number is for the whole postseason, but I'm saying
it'll be the whole postseason.
So they were. Yeah, I think they actually were around 20 wins because their final overall record was 26-15. So that's 41 games compared to, I'm looking at Florida State's and Virginia Tech's 34 games. So in conference, they were 9 for 11. So they still finished sub 500, and it doesn't matter because they won the title. So let's move on. But again, just to recap, I agree with you. I think it is underreaction, or it's the right reaction. But if I had to pick one of the other, I think under, because he's done something that nobody else has done in 4 decades.
If I had to lean one or the other, it would be under.
Yep. Okay, so if Wes Moore wins an NCAA championship, he's the greatest women's basketball coach of all time at NC State. Underreaction or overreaction?
Wolfpack Nation, I know that you're enjoying and loving this interview. I want to interrupt this interview for just 1 second and tell you about Oconee Gold, a small batch barbecue, y'all, who has some awesome, delicious barbecue sauces and rubs, and even merchandise too that you will love and enjoy. Again, they have barbecue sauces starting with their original, which is a sweet brown sugar based mild barbecue sauce, but they also too have barbecue sauces that are spicy, jalapeno flavored, mustard based, vinegar based, and then they also have too, again, a delicious dry rub that's great. All your chicken, pork, seafood, beef, you name it. If it's any kind of meat whatsoever, that rub will take it to the next level. I can guarantee you that for sure. So again, go and check out their website, www.oconeegoldbarbecuesauce.com. Use the coupon code Tuffy Talk to get 15% off your entire order. And if your order is also over $99, you also get free shipping as well, y'all. So again, go to oconeegoldbarbecuesauce.com. Use the coupon code Tuffy Talk to get 15% off your entire order. Enjoy it, y'all. You will love it, and I can guarantee you that. And as always, go pack and get you some, y'all.
It's the reaction again. it would be underreaction, and it's as crazy as that to sound, right, or to say, and it sounds crazy too. It's Coach K Yao Court. There's, are we finding a name somewhere in the Jimmy V Valvano Arena at Reynolds Coliseum on K Yao Court? Are we finding another name in there somewhere for Westmore? The North Basket sponsored by Westmore. I don't know. I don't know if you're doing that.
The statue being built outside.
Yeah, for sure. And the reason I'm going to say under is because he would do something that Coach Yao unfortunately didn't get to do was cut down the nets for an NCAA championship. If you're looking at the numbers, will bear out Coach Yao with wins slightly more than Coach Moore, just because of her longevity at state. But the ACC titles are right there for each other. I think Coach Moore is he at 3 or 4 ACC championships?
He's definitely got 3 because he had a 3-peat.
Yeah, he definitely had the 3-peat. And
I don't think he's won another one.
Yeah, so I think she won 4 tournaments, and so I think she won 4 tournaments, and then she also won 5 regular season, and I think Wes has won 1 regular season.
Okay,
I think.
Yeah, I kind of view it in the lens of what Everett Case.
Because they both did once. Did Coach Yao make 2 Final Fours or just 1 Final Four?
One Final Four, I believe.
One is one of, yeah. So they both have that in common. But go ahead.
98. Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead. What you're saying.
It's I kind of view it in the same lens. I would compare like an Everett Case or a Norm Sloan to a Jimmy V, right? Because we were talking about offline about what K Yao did to make in-state women's basketball even a thing, right?
Right.
I think Everett Case and Norm Sloan, they won national championships, so it's still not. Or actually, Everett Case didn't. Norm Sloan did. So let's compare Everett Case to Jimmy V. Maybe let's do that. Everett Case is. You don't have NC State basketball. Heck, you don't have ACC basketball without Everett Case, right? But he's one of the greats to ever do it. However, I don't think anybody in NC State would think of Everett Case as the greatest to do it because they're thinking of the championships that Norm Sloan and Jimmy V had. So
that trumps everything.
I think it's an underreaction. I think or the right reaction too. I think it's Westmore would be the greatest women's basketball coach of all time. And I also would say, if you're going to say K Yao built the program up from nothing, do people forget where in-state women's basketball was before Westmore took over? I mean, like Kelly Harper did not have it in a great place either. So it's.
It's hard to build a program. Like I know, and I think one of the questions we might get to that we were kind of workshopping before this, we just once a team has reached a level of success, if you don't maintain it, it's hard to get back. Because if you look at like how successful Alabama football was with Bear Bryant, I know this is before your time and even before my time. It got down to some bad spots, like with David Shula as the head coach. Like they were not good before Nick Saban came back and resurrected that program. But it takes a lot to get back to that top level. So to see what Coach Moore had to do to get it back to where it could even be on the competitive level that it is a feat in and of itself.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. So we'll move on now to baseball. So everybody realized NC State made it to Omaha last season, and they had some really big power hitters that really came on particularly late in the season. Obviously, they made it to Omaha. But they lost a lot of power hitting going into the offseason, and that's one of the things that the state's going to have to recruit and get a hold of, and they've already started work on that. But here's the statement. The baseball team will not be as juiced, quote unquote, next season with power hitters leaving. So they won't be as strong of a hitting team next season.
Yeah.
True or underaction or overaction?
Yeah. So it's funny, right? Because if you had obviously, having lost Cozart and Pennington and Alex Makarevich, or AMAC as most people affectionately knew him as, And then you had a couple, you had Eli Serrano and, some other guys that had some pop in their bat. You probably on the surface are going to say this is an underrated statement. And I think I'm still going to lean there just for now. There's a lot of potential, but just based off of what we knew with Garrett Pennington and Alec Makarevich coming in, we didn't see the seasons they ended up with happening at the first. Again, you're talking a lot of potential, but is that going to come to fruition? So right now, I'm going to say that it's under. What did I say first? Did I say underrated?
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's underrated. I am a little worried. You bring a guy with like Alex Sosa, and there's some young freshmen that are going to be in the mix, and you got some guys, but are they going to produce? And so I'm going to take a wait and see approach. So I'm going to say it's under.
Yeah, I'm will not be as juiced next season with power hitters leaving. I think it's an overreaction because I think the guys could be a really good hitting team. I just don't know. So to me, right. I think it's an overreaction. Although you do leave a lot of guys there. So I think they've shown that they can get guys who can hit and they can pull out of the guys as the season goes on. Yeah. So I think you losing those guys on the NC State's team this past season, I think it's an overreaction to say they won't be as good at power hitting. I mean, Sosa could be a guy next season. They brought in some guys. I don't think it's going to be, losing Pennington and AMAC is a big loss, right? But I think they can still find guys who can hit. And the home run numbers may not be there, but what's to say we don't hit for a higher average and steal more bases and manufacture runs? Like the offense can still be as potent. I don't know if you're going to get the same amount of home runs that you got from this team, but I think with the way Coach Hart coaches, he's a great coach, and Elliot Avon has been to 3 College World Series now. I just there's a lot to be said with this coaching staff and player development. So I'm kind of with you there. Yeah. Okay. Next one. This is more fun. I think this is I think it's going to be a fun one for to talk through because it's been a top topic for years for NC State.
Hold on. You want to pause? Let's pause here. How many more questions do we have? Because we're at 20 minutes.
You want to wrap it up? And we can just
we'll wrap it. Yeah. Clip. I'll mark a clip, and then we'll just say we'll wrap it for episode 1, and then get into number 2 because I don't want to get too far. All right, so go ahead.
All right, guys. So that wraps up this episode of Underreaction or Overreaction here with Greg and myself and Tuffy Talk, guys. I really appreciate you guys tuning in, and let us know what you think in the comments about each of these options, these questions we pose, or these statements we pose. If you think they're an underreaction or overreaction, do you think, maybe Westmore isn't with the greatest coach who wins a championship? Do you think the baseball team is, you're concerned about their ability to hit power hitting next season? Should Kevin Keats get a 4th season, a 5th season, or does he really need to be at 2? Let us know in the comments. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe to all of these videos and channels here. Feel free to look into our stuff. We're already starting to prep for some more stuff for football and basketball coming up. So thank you guys for your time. And as always, go Pack.